Presentations. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first presentation is really an update on the part of Brian Zimmern and Andy Barnaby about some of the changes. We had the Early Childhood Center or Special Olympics just recently, and we'll be coming soon to the Special Olympics. So I'm going to ask Brian and Andy to please come up and tell us a little bit about some of the changes that we can look forward to with the Special Olympics this year.
Hi, good evening. The ECC had their Special Olympics on March 29th. We did it with the Hudson Public Schools at the facility on Yawkey Way. It was a really great day. What the students do is they compete at different stations at that level. We had about 7 stations. So one was soccer, another was t-ball, there's an obstacle course, there's bike riding, lots of different fun things to do. And we were also unified this year, so we had some other students who are not of the special ed department come with us, and that was a really great thing to do. They had such a good time. Their parents came, so that was a big change for us this year. And Brian's going to talk a little bit about some of the changes coming up through K-12.
Thank you, Andy. Good evening, everyone. This year's event for the high school and the elementary school and the middle school will be held on April 28th. This year will be completely unified, and that all peers, unified partners, and athletes will be able to participate in the event, which is a huge change to it. Also, at the elementary level, they'll be doing school skills stations, so they'll be doing football toss, soccer toss, and things like that. At the middle and high school, they'll be doing time trials for track and field events, so throwing and running and more traditional events. So it's a nice change. We're going to have over about 200 students participating this year, which is a large number for us.
Questions from the committee? Ms. Hennessy.
Thank you. So this is kind of a big shift. I mean, I think a great shift in many aspects. How have you felt like it's been received with, your staff as well as the students and any of the parents? Have they had the opportunities of being able to talk about it? Because I think it's been something that's been in discussion for a little while.
We reached out with CPAC, and we also met with the head of Special Olympics to go over some of the questions related to it. We also, Heather and John Fletcher, met with the administration to go over the changes. So far, everyone's been very supportive, and we're going to use this year as a trial year to see how it goes with these changes.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
At our level, the feedback we got from parents was very positive. They loved having some of the other kids go, and we're hoping to expand on that more next year. We were unsure of how that's going to work at our grade level because of our schedule here at the Early Childhood Center. Not everybody's full day, and there was, managing all of that was the biggest challenge for us, but it worked out really well. We had no glitches, everything was good, and we're hoping to increase the unified competitors next year.
That's great. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
STEM outdoor classroom.
So at the beginning of this school year, I was approached by the 10th grade STEM team, and we have some of those STEM teachers here today, Julie Jenks, Megan Fenniff, and Stephanie Gill, and they proposed that their students would create an outdoor classroom space, and the hope was that perhaps one of the projects would catch the eye and we would actually put this in the budget and build it. So I was asked to pick the top 3 projects that were presented in February at the Science and Technology Fair, and these are the 3, and we wanted to bring them here and have them give a brief outline of their project, their creation. So I'm going to have Mrs. Gill introduce them. I will tell you the order will go in is the Woodmen, Outdoor Industries, and Alternative Learning through an Outdoor Classroom. Mrs. Gill?
Good evening. Thanks so much for having us. We appreciate you taking the time to see some of the student work that we're doing in the STEM program at the high school. This was a project that they worked on for an entire semester that ended at the Marlborough High School Science and Engineering Fair, although 2 of these groups went to our regional fair at WPI, and one of the groups is also going to the state fair at MIT in May to present their projects. So we're really proud of them, and we couldn't be more proud about what a great job they did. So we appreciate your time. The first group, the Woodmen, is Matt Pearl, Lou Vigent, and Nick Patel. And they will tell you a little bit, just so you have an idea of what they're going to tell you about. They're going to tell you a little bit about the location that they proposed, because they were required to research a location on either the high school or the middle school campus and choose an area. Then they designed an outdoor classroom space based on research. They did surveys of staff and of students in the buildings to find out what people would want in this kind of space. And then they did a feasibility study, because it's not really there's no way for them to test prototypes. They were 3D printed, so we couldn't build a mock-up of a classroom and have people sit in it. And so they did a feasibility study and took pictures about the angles of the sun from all the different directions, so that they could show that if students were out learning in their classrooms, you know, they wouldn't have sun in their eyes, or there wouldn't be trees in the way or whatnot. So what you'll see is the model that they created. They have their classroom, and then they have the landscape sort of around it. And they did measurements, and they used geometry and did the grade of the land, if it's at all has hills in it. And then you'll see the pictures. So one student will tell you a little bit about it, and a couple of other students will have some of they brought their models with them to show you, so that you have an idea. And so without any further ado, here's the Woodman.
How you doing? I'm Lou. This is Nick and Matt. And our design, we decided to put on the back side of the Whitcomb Middle School, behind the gym parking lot. And it's on a hill, as you can see in this this model, that runs down to Stevens Street. And the location we decided to use because it could not only be used by the middle school, but also the high school, because it's only a short walking distance, and there's a path that runs to it that's already existing. And design-wise, we made a 20 by 30 structure that is elevated off the ground to keep it level on the hill. And it's designed to fit 20 to 30 students. And we used mostly wood in our design because we want the students to feel like they're in nature, and we didn't want to have a lot of metals in our design because it took away from the nature around them. And the hillside that it's on is surrounded by a number of trees, so when the students are sitting in the classroom, they'd look out and see a number of different trees. And we interviewed teachers to see what they thought they would need in a classroom, and one of the biggest answers was storage. So what we did, you can kind of see it in this model here, is we have storage under the floor that doesn't take space away from the classroom itself. You just pull up a panel on the floor, and the storage is there. And seating-wise, we needed to fit 30 students, so we made multiple rows of tables that are movable and can fit 2 to 3 students. In the front of the class is where the teacher goes on an elevated platform with a large whiteboard behind them so that every student can see them. And one of the criteria about the classrooms, it needed to be accessible by all. So in order to make it handicap accessible, we had to design a ramp that ran up to the parking lot that students with wheelchairs or crutches could get to. And there's stairs on the side that run to a path that already exists on the hillside that students use every day. And price-wise, for raw materials from top to bottom, we expect it to cost about $12,000. And that's everywhere from the wood to the screws to the shingles on the roof. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee?
Questions?
Questions from the committee? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Script his name. The second group is Outdoor Industries. So just as a side note, as part of the project, they do a bit of marketing. So they create a logo and a company name because they have roles in their groups to collaborate with. So these are their company names that they developed based on the prototype that they were doing. So the Outdoor Industries is Connor Bogle, Noah Rosenzweig, and Dom Carter.
How are we doing today? Good evening. I'm Dom. This is Noah and Connor. and this is our proposal for the outdoor classroom. So our location is in Holtz Grove. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but it is near the back of the high school, roughly 530 feet from the back entrance, so it's a short walk. And Connor will tell you more about the design of the solar panels and energy that we have in our outdoor classroom.
So our classroom, this is the original version of our classroom. We have since made a new version. So the new version has solar panels on the entire roof to create green energy. And it also has bench seating for up to 28 students. Since we surveyed teachers in our school and they said that their average class size was around 25 to 28 students. It also has an enormous storage area in the back underneath the seating of the classroom because the seats are raised in an amphitheater style. So there's an enormous room for seating on the back. We also thought about handicap accessibility. So on the right side next to the front benches, there are 2 spots for either 2 wheelchairs or 1 spot for a student that is that needs either a translator or a sign language person. There's also enough room for the teacher and a projector with Wi-Fi and all the internet stuff that you would need. And there's also a each bench has a desk that can slide up to accommodate all the students. So Noah can talk about the rest of it.
So I'd just like to speak on the energy aspect of this classroom. So of course, to have a functioning modern classroom, it needs to be powered. These classrooms require laptops, as most classrooms do use Chromebooks. They need to have projectors, outlets, such a thing. You know, a big question is, you know, where will this energy come from? We answered this by putting solar panels on the roof of our classroom. We found that we can rent solar panels through companies such as Vivint or Solar City at 0 cost to the school, and we can buy power at a reduced rate than would be from the grid. So we can save a lot of money this way, cutting the energy bill in half than would, say, any other method, just by using these solar panels. Clean energy is really important to our group, and for that reason we also use clean materials. Our design requires no metals, it's all wood-based, requires redwood, and we want to create a most natural and relaxed environment as possible while also making it clean. Another aspect to our classroom which is also important is interdisciplinary. So this classroom needs to be versatile and be used by all disciplines. So not only can this classroom be used as a science classroom, but also an English classroom or a math class. Through that, as you can see in the model, there's a whiteboard in the background for drawing on. There's lab benches in there for doing tests. And of course, the solar panels themselves could be applied to a lesson in a science class or engineering.
And as well, not only can this be used as an outdoor classroom, but it can support possible venues for maybe night venues that we can hold here. And that's maybe another aspect that really puts our classroom on the top.
Are the neighbors going to be okay with that?
We'll ask them.
What is the overall dimensions of the classroom?
30 feet by 40 feet,
Thank you.
yes. And the cost would be around $12,000 to $15,000.
Questions from the committee? Ms. Hennessy.
On the solar, is it storage right there on site, so it's like recycled, or is it something where it's a deal back with like the company? Did you guys go as far as to look at that option? So is it, because I know in some of the challenges or STEM projects in the past, it's looked at whether you could actually store and reuse some of the solar energy elsewhere.
So we have a large storage area where we could have a battery on site, but the thought is that we can buy energy back directly from Solar City so that a battery wouldn't necessarily be needed. So if a venue was to be done at night, it could simply be bought, and that would relieve the need for a battery, but it's definitely a possibility that a battery would be on site.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our third group that's here to present is Alternative Learning Through an Outdoor Classroom, and this is Matt Fettig, Bobby McPherson, and Joseph Taft.
So I'm Joseph, this is Matt, and this is Bobby. So we designed our classroom with the main ideas of practicality, accessibility, and security. We'll start with security.
So our classroom is in a location fairly close to the high school. It's on that area that separates the bus lot from the student parking lot. And we thought that since it was so close to the high school, it would provide great visibility from there. So in case of an emergency, students could get out quickly, get to the school, or just get out of the classroom somewhere else. This allows for everyone to have a more safe experience at school, and in the event of emergency, everyone would have a higher chance of being safe, unharmed, and just get the full experience without any danger involved.
Another main point was accessibility. We made it next to the bus lot because there was already an existing sidewalk there, meaning that it was easily accessible from the front of the building. Also, there's a little path here, so people with wheelchairs are able to access the classroom. And that also aids in our practicality.
So one of the big advantages of our amphitheater-inspired design is that the teacher is up front with a whiteboard behind them, and they're on an elevated platform so all the students can see. And another thing that helps the students see better is that there is tiers in the back for the further back rows, so that way those students can also get a good view and hear the teacher well, because that's very important for students to be able to learn well. And the main flat area is also handicap accessible, making this classroom usable by all students. Another thing is that the classroom is set up to use natural lighting because there's skylights on the roof. The total dimensions is it's 38 feet deep, 16 feet wide at the front, and 20 feet wide at the back. That's about it. Any questions?
To the committee, Ms. Hennessy.
Approximately how much do you think that this would cost to make?
It's estimated to be about $12,000 to $13,000 for materials.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much to the students and to the teachers. I want to commend the parents who came, commend the students for their efforts, and also the teachers who are creative and every year come up with something different. This is not an old recycled project. So I want to commend you for your work and for the poise and professionalism on the part of the students. It's really noticeable. So thank you very much. And I realize there are no young women in this group, and that was not by design. Sorry about that. I apologize. We're supposed to be promoting women in STEM, but I failed on that. So sorry.
The young women are represented by the teachers.
They are. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for pointing that out.
I just also wanted to say, thank you, especially on the projects, because it's great when the projects for, STEM or any of the different classrooms tie into stuff that's going on in the school, because I also know the 9th grade project also had tie-ins where the kids were doing interviews in the elementary schools as well. And I think that's great when you have that full trajectory and you can really see the application. And I think for you all, when you can see an application where you could actually affect something here, has a long-standing, hopefully a long-standing effect. It'd be great to see one of these come to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank all the parents for coming tonight. Good.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Good
kids.
job. Good job, everyone.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start by talking about an event that took place on April 6th, where a group of 20, mostly sophomore high school students spent the day at LaSalle College for a kickoff event We have something called a Minority Teacher Pipeline Project, and the goal of this is to diversify the teaching force in Massachusetts so that it better reflects our student populations. We're very fortunate to be a part of this grant. We are joined by an interesting group, Martha's Vineyard, Maynard, and some schools in Boston. Guidance Director Sharon Buckley is the point person on this project, and she is joined by counselors Joanne Hansen and Liz DeHoratius as the student and parent liaisons, respectively. Next, just an announcement. The state has announced that they have adopted the English language, arts, and literacy and mathematics standards. They've been under revision and open for comment for the past year or so. These fully copy-edited versions will be available this spring. DESE is likely to have workshops around how to implement the new standards and what the differences are. And the differences are minor, but pointed to some more efficiencies, especially with math and the progression of skills. The next generation MCAS will be aligned to these standards starting in spring 2018, so a year from now. And just to keep you abreast of the situation, the history and social studies standards are still being looked at by a committee, and we're very lucky. We've told you before that our own Jody Reyes is an English teacher by trade, but he has been selected to be a part of this history and social studies standards committee. Very, very lucky to hear the other day from the Baker-Polito administration that the executive committee of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council has committed to providing the $38 subsidy per the AP exams in the STEM fields, and I've listed out what those are. So just to be clear, it's not all STEM, not all AP, just STEM-related APs. And this is for students who qualify for the low-income reduction. This is a one-time allegation to close that gap. Some of the money has been lost this year, the funding that we're used to tapping into, so this is really designed to be a bridge for districts until we're in a better position to predict where the funding will come from. So we're very, very delighted because we have an AP in all of the listed subjects. And finally, I want to end with the school climate questionnaire. In previous years, 8th and 10th grade MClass have had connected with them questionnaires focused on how you feel or how the student feels about school, how they feel about homework, use of technology, and so on. This year, the state is also bringing that down to the 5th grade level. So 5th, 8th, and 10th grade will have a questionnaire included with their MCAS. I believe it is 5 and 8 science, and 10th grade will be attached to the math. There's a little bit of a strategic target for these questions. You've all recalled the social emotional target that we've had over several years with the superintendent's group and the MASC and so forth. This questionnaire is voluntary, and it's designed to get at the heart of some of these issues that do not reflect their MCAS scores. We will get the data in the aggregate. Nothing will be assigned to a student, but we will be able to look at it. And this is really a pilot year to see how the state wants to move forward. I would predict that they will at some point move forward with this kind of a questionnaire with maybe a little more teeth to it than just a pilot. So I've posted in the handout section not the surveys themselves, because we certainly can't put those out to the public now for fear that people would coach up the students. Not that they're secret, but we are not allowed to distribute them widely, although I've sent them to Sharon, and the counselors have looked at them just to get an idea of what will be asked of the students. But there is posted on the DESE website a FAQ document that I've included here. Most importantly, the points I've mentioned already, but also the fact that what is being measured here is engagement, safety, and environment. All really important topics, and topics that will be measured under the new ESSA regulations for Massachusetts. That concludes my report. Oh, I do have, I'm sorry, I do have one more thing. I wanted to give you a heads up and a notice that on May 2nd and May 3rd, some of us will be walking through the buildings with our gift in honor of teacher appreciation, which this year we're going to call it staff appreciation. So I welcome any of you who would like to walk with us in the buildings. We have not yet set up the schedule, but the Appreciation Day is nationally celebrated on May 2nd, so I'm looking at May 2nd or May 3rd. Even if you can only walk for one building or two buildings, it's always appreciated by the staff to see your involvement, and we could certainly use the help in passing out our trinkets, which at this point will remain a surprise, thanks to Raina Rego. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent? Primary and elementary education report.
Good evening. I just wanted to update you. I think I've mentioned before that we have a joint professional development committee that members of the MEA and district administration have been working for the last 2 years on a 3-year vision for PD. And last year we produced an overarching document about the path and our vision moving forward. And recently we sent out a survey to all faculty members in the Marlborough Public Schools. We began by explaining that over the last few years we have been focused on our goals of MTSS with curriculum instruction and behavioral support, and we imagine that those will continue moving forward as well as increasing our cultural proficiency. And with that in mind, we asked all staff members to identify the PD that they recommend for the whole district, the PD that they recommend for their school, the PD that they recommend for their department and grade level, and the PD that they would like for themselves. We're gathering that data. At this point, we've had over 450 responses to that survey, and the committee will be looking at it and scheduling PD for next year now. And also letting people know what the overarching themes are going to be so that if we have choice offerings, they can suggest and different presenters they've had, or if they would like to prepare a proposal to offer PD as well. And we've also at the same time published the overarching theme or schedule of what those PD's days will look like, so that people know this plan is not something that is going to happen next year. It's already in movement this year. Second, mini courses. I did provide you with the latest mini course catalog. What I did not also include was I did a follow-up email and sent out a link. The Department of Education has a free 15 PDP online course for all staff members to get their special ed PDs. So that was also sent out so that there wasn't an offering in the catalog, but that was sent out to all staff members. And finally, we're a member of elementary science grant. We've just been awarded. And you got the summary of that grant. It's a 3-year grant from the National Science Foundation that was awarded to members from Tufts University and UMass Boston faculty. This grant will allow up to 18 Marlborough Public School teachers from grades 3, 4, and 5 to participate in summer institutes with the goal to integrate science and engineering curriculum units that are aligned with the new Massachusetts science standards during this time. This grant will build on the work of the Elementary Science Committee that started earlier this year as well. So we're very excited about this opportunity. Any questions?
Questions to the committee, Ms. Hennessy.
I just wanted to compliment you very much so on the professional development survey. I just think that's a great idea because then you really are at least trying to get responses from everyone and a buy-in from folks, which is always a good thing. And liked being able to see the many courses that are being offered too. And you know, kudos to all of the people that are stepping up to do it. I think that's great to take that leadership role. And also wanted to say I love seeing that Tom Platty and those folks are doing a number of the electronic offerings, technology offerings. I think it's great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much. Director of Secondary Education.
Good evening, everyone. Every year, the National Endowment for the Humanities offers summer workshops to teachers and administrators around the country. And there's an extensive application process in order to get into the summer workshops. So I'm pleased to announce that Caroline Cadell, Whitcomb social studies teacher and Jody Reyes were accepted into the National Endowment for the Humanities summer workshops, which will take place July 9th through the 14th. Carolyn will be attending Mapping a New World, Places of Conflict and Colonization in the 17th century. So she'll be visiting museums, she'll be traveling, she'll be walking. It sounds like a great trip. I wish I could shadow her. That's how much I like it. If you take a look at the link, you get a chance to look at the link online, you can see what she'll be doing. Jody will be attending the Emily Dickinson Person, Poetry, and Place. Personally, not my favorite to study Emily Dickinson for 5 days, but Jody is thrilled about it. They each get a stipend to cover their travel expenses and their meals. The landmarks workshops are just significant. So I encourage you to take a look at the links. Both will come back to their staff and share what they learned. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the committee?
Nobody's going to defend Emily Dickinson? I will.
Thank you very much.
Mark won't be going.
Public participation. Any public participation? Public participation. Seeing none. Business Professionals of America.
You'll recall that in my last report, I made mention of the students who were moving on from the BPA conference that was recently held March 4th through 6th at the Sheraton Terra in Framingham. And there are a total of 11 students who are eligible to attend the national conference. This year it is held in Orlando, Florida, and the itinerary has been provided to you by Jane Haley, and we are asking your approval for this trip since it is an overnight trip.
I heard it was beautiful.
No worries.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Mrs. Hennessy.
No, I was going to say motion to approve, so, sorry. You just were looking that direction.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carries.
On behalf of Mrs. Haley and the BPA, we thank you.
Policy.
Thank you. So, in your packet was a copy of the designation as opposed to designational. I've heard a little bit of a misspelling on the front there, sorry. Designation of vocational schools. As you know from some of our discussion, even though it's pretty apparent that Assabet is our technical vocational school, we wanted to formalize that after realizing that there was information that came out from DESE, I believed, that made it apparent that it seemed it would be best in our interest to make sure that we had a policy to support that. So that is what this is about. So, first read, there you go.
You're leaving this on the table till the next meeting?
Yes, we will leave it on the table until the next one. Should you have any concerns or questions other than designational, I'll make that change.
Any questions from the committee? Before and after school program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on June 2014, we approved Kidsborough for a series of one-year contracts to lease the space in our schools before and after school to run their enrichment programs. The lease is up again in front of the school committee for an additional one-year term. The annual rate of $81,572.09. And our recommendation is that the school committee approve the third renewal of the lease for Kidsborough.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Mrs. Matthews.
Is this an increased cost, or has the rental increased over the years?
There's an increase in the bid every year. They had to increase their costs. So yes, this is an increase over last year.
Okay, thank you.
I think last year, just off the top of my head, it was about $78,500.
Okay. And they're running at capacity, correct?
I can tell you Jarek is running before and after school, average about 45. Kane is 38 before school, 40 after school. Richer is heavy AM, about 40 students, and light PM, only about 20 students. Whitcomb has about 10 students AM and 20 students PM. So they're doing pretty well.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Acceptance of donations and gifts. Hannaford Help Schools Fundraising Program. The Richer School, $171. The Kane School, $102. And the high school, $261.
Motion to accept.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Or accept? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Reports of subcommittees. Senesi.
Thank you. We have a policy subcommittee meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And we're just continuing down a number of the different items that we have on our plate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. No other reports of committees. Members Forum. Ms. Senesi.
First off, I wanted to say congratulations to everyone associated with the musical. Personally, I was very heavily involved because I had students involved in it, but it was a really great show, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of hard work, so it was great to see. And wanted to wish the kids and chaperones and families that are heading on the Disney musical trip a safe travel and good luck at festival, because it sounds like it should be a good time. They did very well at MICA in many different levels, so should be a good showing. And then I wanted to wish everyone a great spring school break. That's it.
Thank you. Any other members? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Thank you very much.